You are listening to the Cattle Call podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I'm Jim, your irrevocably nerdy host, and with me, as always, is my partner,
Rocco.
All right. So, Rocco, I picked a very special engineering joke of the week for you this week. This is just for you. You ready for this one?
Uh-oh. Should I be scared?
You should. All right. What do you call an engineer who can't solve any problems?
What?
You call him a consultant. It's a way to smack ourselves in the face on that one, but it's funny. It made me laugh. So it's like, all right, I like that one. All righty. All right, folks. So on today's show, I want to discuss the catch-22 of the AEC world. And for those of you who aren't, old men who read too much like I am, Catch-22, it's a novel by Joseph Heller from the 1950s. And it discusses the inherent illogic of military service. A Catch-22, it's defined as a problematic situation for which the only solution is denied by a circumstance inherent in the problem or by a rule. Long-winded way of explaining it, but Merriam-Webster uses acting as an example of a catch-22, right? So in the acting world, nobody is willing to hire an actor who doesn't have an agent. But no agent is going to take on a client who's never acted, i.e. the catch-22, right? The very process prevents you from moving forward. And in the AEC space, the catch-22, it isn't quite as obvious, but it is dangerously insidious, and it spreads very, very quickly across every aspect of the design build world. And look, I can sum it up to you like this. When AEC firms are busy, they don't have the time to train or develop their staff and processes. When an AEC firm is slow, they can't afford to train or develop their staff and their processes. You see what I mean? And I'm going to guess that most of you guys that are listening are probably chuckling a little bit because you're likely victims of the catch-22 right now. It's very, very common. So Rocco, I mean, you're the one who spends the bulk of your day talking with our customers. How often do you see the catch-22 come up as a problem for them?
Yeah, it's basically all the time. I mean, it's it's an everyday thing because either they're too busy and they can't make the time, or they're too slow and they're concerned about money. So it's pretty, and particularly over the past couple years with how busy the industry's been.
Yeah. It is. It's hard to beat it. It sinks into every aspect of what we do. And I think the reason that I'm hitting on this topic today is because it is something that we have been seeing spread across the AEC world. The last 3 or 4 months, I want to say, have been very slow across all sides of the AEC. Design, build, doesn't matter. The Architectural Billings Index, right, has dropped for 4 straight months in a row now, right? And that puts it at the lowest level for new project starts since 2016. So this is particularly true in the commercial markets, right? Even residential, is down a good bit. But overall, those numbers don't inspire terror and fear, right? We're only talking about a few percentage points, maybe 1 to 3% on average, right? Depending on the industry. But when you look at it in terms of real dollars across the country, that is a drop of 200 plus billion with a B, $1 billion that we're missing out on. And look, guys, yeah, I'm no economist. I'm not smart enough for that. I'm not going to get into the political whys and why not of all of this. What I do want to focus on here today is how that drop in revenue is impacting the industry, and what we see as the big mistake we're seeing a lot of firms make, right, that I think really hurts you in the long term. So, Rick, let me ask you this: if you had to kind of guess at a percentage, how many of our clients are struggling with getting support and training and project update approvals right now?
I'd probably say it's 60-40. It's with the larger majority being those that are kind of struggling. And I think the money's there. It's just the concern over, are we heading towards a larger downturn? I think I know people are still very, very busy, but they're just, kind of holding on to the potatoes a little harder.
There you go. No, you're absolutely right. It's exactly what I see, right? It's a weird thing, right? Almost everybody I talk to says, "Oh, we're so busy right now. We're so busy." So I think, they have like a lot of backlogged work, right? Work that's been on hold for a while. That's hitting. But I think that the pipeline of what's coming down the road in a few months is starting to look thin. Right. And I feel like, the financial people are kind of tightening up those purse strings, or like Raghu's holding on to the potatoes. And I do understand that. Right. But it is, to my mind, really the worst thing that they can do right now. Right. Yeah. Look, I know that the logic seems sound, right? If there's no guaranteed money coming in over the next few months or a year plus, then they're certainly not going to spend on anything that isn't absolutely vital until that workload improves. That's logical. Like I said, Rocco and I, we're small business owners. Believe me, we get that. The problem here is that the folks closing off those purses are either victims of or have never heard of the catch-22, right? If you wait until you have a solid workload and a broad pipeline to, train or configure or optimize systems or improve your workflows, then nobody will have the time to do those things because they're going to be tied up day in and day out working on those billable jobs, right? And look, you can opt to force people to do that kind of work in the boom times. But that means, a loss of productivity and efficiency and revenue during your busiest periods. In other words, if you wait until you have the money in your hand to pay for all of those things, it's going to wind up costing you triple what you could get it for today when you're slow. And as contradictory, I think, as that sounds, right? The only effective time to handle all of your back-end support and setup issues that are plaguing your company is when you're slow. Right? And I know, I understand that's a frightening prospect when you're looking at a thin pipeline. Right? But believe it or not, it's actually the sound financial answer. So I tell you what, we're going to let today's sponsor get a word in here. And when we get back, we're going to talk about some of the ways that you guys can look at to begin working around this AEC catch-22. All right. So stand by, folks. We'll be back in just a minute with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. Hey everybody, this is Jim and Rocco with Zentech Consultants, and we wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the training options that we have available here for you guys at Zentech Consultants. We offer public training classes as well as private custom courses for all of your software and design needs. So, Rocco, why don't you tell the folks what kind of training we offer and how do they reach out to us to get it going for them?
Yeah, Jim, we cover everything from Bluebeam to Autodesk to Microsoft to BricsCAD to civil site design training and beginner through to advanced level topics. Like you said, both public and private courses. If you got a group and want to run a class specifically for your team, we can help you. So just feel free to hit our website. We're at zentechconsultants.net. That's ZENTEK, or you can give us a ring, 866-824-4459. or even drop us an email, sales@zentechconsultants.net.
There you go, Zentech Consultants for all of your technology training need. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast. We are talking about the AEC Catch-22 today. And in the top of the show, I hit on what that means and why so many design build firms seem to fall victim to it. And in this half, I want to talk about some of the ways you guys can think about working around the Catch-22 and to hopefully position yourselves to be much more efficient, productive, and let's face it, right? Most importantly, more profitable when the market starts to kick back up again. The key is to invest when you're slow and to use the rewards of what you invested in when you're busy. Right? Look, we all of us, everybody in this industry, we're all faced labor issues, and making sure that we keep our best employees during slower periods. It's the most important thing I think that we can do, and the best way to do that, right, is to train them and to improve their work processes whenever you can. And look, I know we have talked about this issue dozens of times on this show. Almost 90% of workers feel that professional development and support is just as, if not more important to them as a raise, right? And this is where that Catch-22 really kind of bites you on the backside. If your business is slow, you are at risk of losing your people because A, they're bored, B, they're worried because you're slow, and C, they have nothing productive to do. So what do they start, hitting Indeed and looking for new prospects and going on LinkedIn. How do you stop all of that? Right. And look, I'll say, right off the bat, training to me is the most obvious answer, right? You put in the money to make sure that your best workers are also your best trained and most efficient, so that when the work comes back, and it always does come back in our industry, right? The world's got to be built. It's always going to come back. When it does, your best worker, they're going to be better than they were when it started to slow down. You know what I mean? That helps your employees, it helps your client, and it helps the company across the board. Everybody wins in that scenario. So Rocco, what's been going on with training over the last quarter or so, right, that we were talking about? Has it slowed down because of the economic concerns out there?
Yeah, well, we're recording this, the end of June here.
Yep.
So historically for us and in our business, training usually slows down. But we've been trending slower for sure over the past couple months. I mean, there's, we've got enough to keep going, but it's definitely trending slower than we would like, than has been typical for the past couple years. Yeah.
And that's what I mean. I think just people are just, seeing those concerns from the economic indicators and, being very hesitant to move forward. So look, the other big area I think that people kind of get, Catch-22'd on, it's in system and process improvements. And look, I understand, right? Those can be big ticket investment items, right? And you don't want to address those when your revenue is slowing, right? But trust me on this, you do not, you do not want to try changing out key operational processes at the peak of your busy season. You look, if you're a design house, right, and you need to improve your CAD standards, right? Or if you're a construction company and you're like, oh, we need to, rework our project management system, right, to save time and money. The last time that you want to do that is when you are busy. Here's the truth, right? Just something for years and years of doing this in private industry and here at Zentech, you will never run across a more ornery, resistant, and unhappy set of people than when you try to revamp their tools in the middle of a project. It infuriates people. And I always tell people, and again, I was like, think of it like this. Would you like for your doctor to be trained in a new surgical technique while you're on the table getting open heart surgery? I don't think any of us want that, right? I'm personally going to opt for him getting trained in a classroom and having a ton of practice before he starts messing around inside my chest. It's no different in the AEC world, right? We want to get our systems updated and our workflows improved and any known issues or problems that we have ironed out and functional long before we get onto busy projects and detailed design work, right? If we don't, you'll wind up killing your productivity and losing your profits. And look, hey, even if you're willing to take that profitability hit, your employee is still going to be unhappy because here's the truth. Your employees know that if you're making that change during a busy time, it means two things. Number one, their daily work is going to be much harder, so they're going to be frustrated. And number two, that no matter what management says, your workers know that the loss of profit is going to come back to haunt them personally come raise and bonus time. They all believe that intrinsically, and you're not going to get around that. So, Rocco, how often do we work with clients who, start a project with us and then they're just too busy to get them done or too busy to even get it started? So, they paid us, but it sits around languishing for months.
Yeah, it happens often. I mean, it's hard to put a percentage to it like that, but it happens often, and happens particularly with big companies. And it's a little bit frustrating from our end because as much as it sounds good to have people's money and not do work, I mean, that's not the way that Jim and I like to operate.
Well, it's the way that Rocco operates with me. He keeps my money and doesn't do any of the work. But that's a whole other story, folks.
Yeah, so it does. It happens often enough. I mean, people get busy, and it's a project that they want to get to, that they realize the importance of. But they fall back to daily operations and handling the day-to-day fires.
So look, here's what I'll say. The catch-22 conundrum, I'll call it. It haunts everybody in this industry, and it's something that needs to be brought, I think, to the attention of senior management in particular. All too often, the people who are making financial decisions are being guided by reports and figures and profit projections, right? It's very easy, I think, in our industry to get divorced from the practical design build processes, right? Once you get out of the field and the hands-on work. And it's a big part of why I wanted to hit on this topic today, because, we do have a lot of listeners of the show here who are at that C level, right? In the upper suites in major design and build firms. And they don't always listen effectively to the frontline people, or at least listen as carefully as they should. I think, things like, requests for training and support and improvements and so on, they can get glossed over as not being really important, or they're too risky at the moment, right? When actually this moment, right, when you're slow, it's the best possible one that you're ever going to get. Listen, it is dangerous as a company to forget that the operations people are the ones who are actually generating all of the income that your financial people are busy projecting and planning about, right? When those people who are out there doing the work tell you they need things, it's best to take them seriously and not just to discount it because someone with an accounting degree from some famous school has a spreadsheet to tell you why you should. The catch-22, it is dangerous, folks. But you can beat it by using your slow times to prep for the better times instead of, turtling up and hunkering down to wait out the bad weather. And I think with that little bit of folksy wisdom, we're going to get out of here. Rocco, say goodbye to all the good people.
Goodbye, good people.
Goodbye, good people. And we'll catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody. Today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.